Hello and welcome to a special episode of Storytime at 9. Special episode because tomorrow is Children's Day. So, unlike the other Saturdays in which we have been traveling the world, for those of you who are joining in probably for the first time, I would assume that probably no one of you is, but in case there are some people joining in for the first time, every Saturday we've been traveling to different countries and with storytellers from that country who've been telling us stories from that country and about the country. But today, being the eve of Children's Day, we thought, let us come home to India with storytellers from different parts of India. We have three of the finest storytellers in India: Trupti Srikanth, who was earlier in Bangalore and now based in Gurgaon. We have Ramendra Kumar, who was based in Rourkela for many years and now in Bangalore. So Trupti moved out of Bangalore, Ramendra Kumar moved into Bangalore. And there's Saswati Nanda Satpathy, who has been in Bhubaneswar. All three of them have been part of Storytime at 9 and the storytelling series of Bakul, even Rabibar Gapabar, the Odia storytelling. Those of you who missed earlier episodes can go to the YouTube channel and go to the playlist of Storytime at 9. There are, including this would be the 53rd episode, and we have already traveled to more than 40 countries. And there is Rabibar Gapabar also, which is storytelling in Odia. So I hope you're enjoying the stories. Now, if you are enjoying the stories, I have said that earlier also, please do not forget to share the stories. Retell the stories with your friends, to your family. You can also share the video which you're seeing on YouTube or Facebook, right? And do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel of Bakul or like the Facebook page wherever you're seeing it, right? So today we will start with the storytelling series. Three great storytellers, Bonanza, Children's Day Bonanza. But before that, we also have a surprise. In the second season, this is the third season of Storytime at 9. In the second season, we had started a new series called Tiny Tellers Mighty Tales, in which children who have been listening to our stories, particularly from the schools that have been partnering with Bakul for this initiative, were given an opportunity to tell stories, retell stories which they had heard in Storytime at 9. So the schools selected some storytelling videos and sent to us, and we did a lottery and we decided which story to play. So we have two schools, who have sent in their videos. Let us have the lottery right now to see which of these stories will be played today. This is the first time in the third season of Storytime at 9 that we're doing it. Can we play the video? Can we play the lottery? We have St. Xavier's Kedar Gori and we have St. Xavier's Patia. So computer G, let's see which school is winning. Oh, it's St. Xavier's Kedar Gori. Congratulations. Those of you from St. Xavier's Kedar Gori, please do write in your comments box to tell us that you're there listening. We will have a separate lottery later to find out which of the videos we will play today. The other video, both the videos, we will be sharing on our Facebook and YouTube channels, definitely. But now to our first storyteller, Trupti Srikanth. Trupti, has told stories earlier in Storytime at 9. She's an engineer by training, but a storyteller by passion. She believes that stories have the power to entertain, educate, heal, and influence change. And that is why she not only tells stories, but also works with organizations, children, schools, and helps them discover and use the power of stories in their personal and professional lives. She has been to multiple literature festivals, storytelling festivals, and all kinds of cultural spaces. And, coaching educators in leveraging the power of stories in the classroom. So let us listen to Trupti Srikanth first. Trupti, welcome to the show once again, and thank you very much for joining. Over to you.
Thank you, Pujit. It's always a pleasure. All right. Let me get straight to the stories. The story that I would like to tell you today is from a book that I read quite some time back. It's titled Squeaky Door, and it's written by Margaret Reed McDonald. And now there are multiple reasons why I love this story. It's some of them are it's so entertaining. I love the sounds in the story, and most importantly, I think the story is about something that many of us might have struggled during our childhood with. So here's the story: Squeaky Door by Margaret Reed MacDonald, retold by me. There once was a village, a tiny village. And in this tiny village, there was a big farm. And on this big farm, in this tiny village, lived lots of animals. There was a dog, there was a cat, there was a sheep, there was a pig, and there was a horse. Now, in on this big farm in the tiny village that had a dog, a cat, a sheep, a pig, and a horse, there also was a big house. And in this big house, in this tiny village, on this farm, lived three people: a little boy, his mother, and his father. Now, this little boy, let's call him Chintu. Now, Chintu was a very brave boy. He was not scared of lions. He was not scared of tigers. He was not even scared of his mother. He was that brave a boy. Still, there was something that he was really, really scared about. Now, Chintu was very scared about sleeping all alone in his room, in his big room, in his big house on the big farm in that little village. So one day, when Chintu was away at school, his mother decided to do something about it. So she went into his room and changed lots of things about the room. She had the room painted a color that Chintu really loved, and she put pictures of all the characters that he loved on the walls. And then she got him a brand new bed, a really, really cool bed, a bed that was so big that stretched from right there to right there, a really big bed that would sleep 10 people. Yes, that huge bed. So that evening, when Chintu got home and he went into his room, he looked at his room. It looked different. He looked around. Oh, yes, Chintu loved his room. And he told his mother, "Can I please sleep in my own room on my bed tonight? I love it." Mother was happy. So that evening, after Chintu had his dinner, Mama took Chintu to his room. She tucked him into his bed, read him a story, and said, "Now, Chintu, when I turn off the light and close the door, will you be scared?" Aha. So Mama kissed Chintu goodnight. Mwah! And she turned off the light and closed the door. Squeak! And as soon as she closed the door, from inside the room, she heard a noise. Mama opened the door, turned on the light, and said, "Chintu, are you scared?" Well, he was scared, but he did not want to accept he was scared. But Mama understood. And she said, "Now, Chintu, I think you are scared, but don't you worry. In our farm, we have a dog, the dog that you really, really like. Now, if I got the dog and the dog slept next to you on your bed, would you be okay?" Yes. So Mama went to the farm, and from the farm, she got the dog and put the dog right next to Chintu on his bed. All right, Chintu. Now that the dog is right next to you, you love the dog. Now that the dog is right next to you, when I turn off the light and close the door, will you be scared? Uh-huh. So Mama kissed the dog goodnight. Mwah! She kissed Chintu goodnight. Mwah! She turned off the light and closed the door. Squeak! And as soon as she closed the door, from inside she heard a sound. Mama opened the door, turned on the light, and said, Chintu, you still scared? All right, well, don't you worry, child. Now, in our farm, we also have a cat that you so really love. Now, if I got the cat along too, when the cat slept right next to you too, along with the dog, will you be okay? Yes, yes. So, Mama went to the farm. She got the cat and placed it right next to Chintu on his bed. Now, Chintu, now that you have the dog and the cat right by your side, when I turn off the light and close the door, will you be scared? Aha. So, Mama kissed Chintu goodnight. Mwah. She kissed the dog goodnight. Mwah. She kissed the cat goodnight. Mwah. Then she turned off the light and closed the door. Squeak! And as soon as she closed the door from inside the room, she heard a noise. Mama opened the door, turned on the light, and said, Chintu, you're still scared, aren't you? Well, all right, don't you worry. Now, in our farm, we also have a sheep that you also love. So, this is what I will do. I will bring the sheep and put him on the bed too. And when you have all three friends of yours, I think you'll be okay, won't you? Yes, yes. So Mama went to the farm and she brought that sheep and put the sheep right next to the cat on the bed. All right, Chintu. Now that you have three of your friends along with you, the dog, the cat, and the sheep, when I turn off the light and close the door, will you be scared? Uh-huh. So Mama kissed Chintu goodnight. Mwah! She kissed the dog goodnight. Mwah! She then kissed the cat goodnight. Mwah! And finally, the sheep goodnight too. Mwah! Then she turned off the light and closed the door. Squeak! And as soon as she closed the door, right from behind the door, she heard a sound. Mama opened the door, turned on the light, and said, Chintu, are you still scared? All right, don't you worry. Now, what else do we have in our farm? Oh, yes, we have the pig. All right, now I'll bring the pig along too and have the pig sleep on the bed along with you and your friends. That should be okay, isn't that right? Yes. So Mama went to the farm and from the farm brought the pig, the roly-poly pig, and put the pig next to the sheep on the bed. And then she asked Chintu, now that all four of your friends are here, the dog, the cat, the sheep, and the pig. Now, when I turn off the light and close the door, will you be okay? Will you be scared? Uh-huh. So Mama kissed Chintu goodnight. Mwah! She kissed the dog goodnight. Mwah! She kissed the cat goodnight. Mwah! She also kissed the sheep goodnight. Mwah! And finally, the pig also goodnight. Mwah! All right. And then she turned off the light, and closed the door. Squeak! And as soon as she closed the door, right from behind the door, she heard a sound. Mama opened the door, turned on the light, and said, Chintu, you're still scared. All right, now what do I do? Well, we only have one more animal left in our farm, the horse. And okay, I'll bring him in too. And when he's there and all your friends are here, you should be okay. Won't you be okay? Yes, yes. So Mama went to the farm and dragged the horse in, and the horse was on the bed too soon, along with Chintu, the dog, the cat, the sheep, and the pig. And Mama said, Chintu, now that all your friends are here in the room on your bed with you, when I turn off the light and close the door, will you be scared? Uh-huh. So Mama kissed Chintu goodnight. Mwah! She kissed the dog goodnight. Mwah! She kissed the cat goodnight. Mwah! She then kissed the sheep goodnight. Mwah! She also kissed the pig goodnight. Mwah! And then the horse also goodnight. Mwah! And then Mama turned off the light and closed the door. Squeak! And as soon as she closed the door, from behind the door, she heard a sound. Come on. Mama opened the door, turned on the light. The bed had broken. Now first, Mama dragged the horse back to the farm. She then took the pig, the roly-poly pig, back to the farm. Then the sheep to the farm. Then the cat and the dog back to the farm. Now Chintu, she could not leave him in the farm, so she took him along with her, and Chintu did not sleep on his bed in his room that night too. The next morning, when Chintu was at school, Mama called the carpenter who fixed the bed. And then, as Mama closed the door, squeak! Squeak! Ah, now there was a sound that Mama thought might have scared Chintu. So she quickly went to the kitchen, got a can of oil, and sprayed some oil on the hinges of the door. Psst, 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 psst. Glop, 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 glop. Squeak! Some more oil. Psst, 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 psst. Glop, 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 glop. No sound. So that evening, again, when Chintu came home, he had his dinner and he was ready for bed. Mama took him to his room, read him a story, tucked him in, and then asked Chintu, now, Chintu, when I turn off the light and close the door, will you be scared? Aha. So Mama kissed Chintu goodnight, mwah, turned off the light, and closed the door. And as soon as she closed the door, right from behind the door, she heard a sound. The sound of Chintu snoring in his sleep. Since that day, Chintu was never ever scared to sleep in his room all by himself. And since that day, Chintu always slept in his room on his really cool bed every day, day after day. Wasn't Chintu a really brave boy? Can we clap for him? All right, that brings us to the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed listening to the story. Um, it's the Children's Day Eve, so happy Children's Day to all your children, and not just children, all of you who are still children at heart. Thank you.
Thank you for your wishes, Trupti, because I think that I have always remained a child. So, okay. I mean, of course, however old you grow for your parents, you're always a child. Yeah. So, happy Children's Day once again from all of us here. So, wonderful listening to Chintu's story, and thank you very much, Trupti, for being here. Now we have another great storyteller, Mr. Ramendra Kumar, and some of you would have already heard him. If you've not heard him, today is the chance to hear him. He is one of the most well-known children's writers and storytellers, and has won many awards as well. I was just seeing the bio that I had for him the last time we had a session, and by then he had 38 books. I'm sure by now it has already crossed 40, because I keep seeing about his new books that are coming out. Of course, he doesn't write only for children. His last book, if I'm not mistaken, is about his experience in the corporate sector. So he has all kinds of books. He has books on Bollywood, on everything. But then he is one of our finest children's writers and storytellers. And his stories, his books have, been printed in thousands of copies. For example, one of his stories, Internet in the Jungle, I remember, was published by the government of Sri Lanka, made into a textbook for students of grade 5. And his story, Paplu the Giant, has been translated into 25 languages. Okay, so today he will be telling a modern fable. I won't say more, but that's a story of which a book of which more than 25,000 copies have been sold in multiple languages in the last couple of years. So welcome, sir, once again to Storytime at 9. Always wonderful to have you. I don't know how many of you have been to Bufesto, the Bhubaneswar Festival of Storytelling that we had organized in 2018 on the sidelines of the Hockey World Cup. Ramendra sir was there. So over to you, Ramendra sir.
Jai Jagannath. So the story I'm going to tell you today, it's been taken on an international platform and kind of circulated or telecast to more than 170 countries. This is the book Boond, and one of my favorite picture books. And let me tell you that all the stories which I tell are the stories which I write. I don't take them from anywhere else, because I love to tell my stories the way I want to. So, this is the story of a tiny droplet of water called Boond. She lived way up in the sky with her grandparents and parents and uncles and aunts and cousins. Her home was a huge cloud. One day, she went to her grandfather, a big cloud, the head of the family, called Meg, and she told him, Grandpa Meg, I want to see the world. Grandpa Meg smiled indulgently and said, You will see the world, my child, when you grow up a bit. You're too tiny to see the world now. No, no, I want to see the world. Everybody has seen the world. Neer and Shabnam and Chunki and Chimpat and so many other of my cousins have seen the world except me. And they tell me such wonderful stories about the world, the beauty in the world. So Grandpa Meg looked at her and said, Little one, these are all stories. The reality is quite different. But Boone was a pesky little one, and when she wanted something, she wanted it really badly, and she would get it. She said, No, no, I want to see the world now. Grandpa Meg said, Okay, you will see the world, but you will not go alone. You will go with your cousin, Shabnam, who was a drop of water. Now you must be wondering, how does a droplet and a drop of water go on a world tour? Well, it's quite simple. Grandpa Meg took them in his arms and settled above a waterfall. And soon the droplet and the drop went into the gushing waters and straight into a stream. And Boond and her cousin Shabnam looked around. Boond was ecstatic. It was so beautiful. Lush green trees with lovely, tasty fruits and flowers of all hues and colors and sizes and shapes. Animals gamboling, running after each other, birds chirping melodious tunes. Oh my God, the world is even more beautiful than I imagined. Soon the stream joined the river joined another big river, and on they went. Suddenly, Boone could smell something. What is this stink, Didi? She asked Shabnam. Shabnam told her, just look there. By the riverside, she could see hundreds of men and women taking a bath, washing clothes, throwing garbage. See all that? That is creating a stink. Let us move from here. So they went to the middle of the river, and as they went, Boond could feel her skin burning. Boond asked, what is this burning sensation? Do I have fever? Or is there a monster in the river who's going to gobble all of us up? Shabnam smiled. No, you don't have fever and there's no monster. There are some factories and industries across the river, by the side of the river, which discharge waste material, pollutants into the river. That is why all this, this burning sensation you are feeling. And you see that fish? Boond looked straight ahead and she could see a fish completely dead, her eyes sightless, floating on its back. What happened to the fish? It is dead. The polluted waters have killed the fish. But Didi, why did you take me to the Ganges, to the Ganga? My papa was telling me that the Ganga is pure, it's pristine, the waters are so sweet. My dear little sis, that was long, long back. And this is the Ganga which your papa was talking about. He said, this mess, yes, man and his greed have created this mess. Ganga at one time was really pure and pristine. Okay, okay, I've had enough of this. Take me to those beautiful beaches. So many people have told me, so many of my cousins have told me about the beaches. I said, okay. So they joined a river and another river and another river and another river till finally they reached the beach, close to the beach. And Shabnam said, look at your clean beach. And Boond looked and was shocked. There was litter all around, plastic caps and plastic mugs, and all kinds of garbage was strewn, and everything was again smelling foul. Is this the clean beach? Again, let me tell you, sis, all these beaches were clean and clear. But man and his avarice, his greed for materialistic stuff has made this beach like this. I don't want to stay. I want to go back home. Okay, we'll go back home. Let us go and rest on that small boulder. The rays of the sun will fall on us, will turn into water vapor and rise. And Grandpa Meg, who must be waiting for us, will take us in his arms. We will condense and become Boond and Shabnam again. And that is exactly what happened. After Boond had settled down, Grandpa Meg asked, so, little one, how's your beautiful world? Grandpa, it is not beautiful at all. It's terrible out there. Fish are dying, animals are dying, plants and trees, everything is being destroyed. You have to do something. You have to save these creatures, these beautiful creatures of the world. Grandpa Make thought for some time and then called all his family of clouds together, and he addressed the people of the world. Listen, you have destroyed nature. You have completely polluted the water bodies, plants and animals, every living thing is suffering because of your greed. Either you mend your ways, or I'm going to teach you a lesson which you will never ever forget. But do you think men, women, and children would listen? No. They continued with their evil ways, with their practices which were suffocating nature. Grandpa Meg lost his temper. He called his family of clouds and said, "No more rain from now. From this moment, not a drop of water is going to fall on the ground." Rain stopped. Water bodies started drying up. The rivers, the lakes, the pools, even the wells dried up. Men, women, and children were clamoring for water, but there was no water. Finally, there was a young man called Aryan who had a wise head on his young shoulders. He gathered the people and appealed to Grandpa Meg with folded hands. "Grandpa Meg, we are very, very sorry. We have paid for our sins. We are going to atone for the crimes we have committed, for the way we have destroyed nature. From now on, we are going to take care of the plants, the birds, and the animals. We are going to make sure that the lakes, the pools, the wells, the rivers are not polluted." And from that day onwards, rain started to happen, and all the water bodies were filled up again, and all the men, women, and children took care of the plants, the animals, the birds, and the water bodies. Everything started blooming and blossoming. On the plants, you had flowers. On the trees, you had fruits. Birds were chirping, animals were gamboling and running around in abandon. The whole world was beautiful again. And who was the happiest among all the creatures? Here and up above, it was the little droplet of water called Boond. So, children, please remember that we need to nurture nature. That is one of our prime responsibilities. We should realize that we are not the owners of the environment, we are only the guardians, and we are keeping it safe for the next generation. Tomorrow is Children's Day. Let us take a pledge that we will take care of all the living creatures around us. And the second pledge I want you all to take is to read as much as you can, as many books as you can, in as many genres as you can. And I want to tell the parents that please encourage your children to read, because a friend is a book that will last forever. A book is a friend that will last forever. Jai Jagannath.
Thank you so much, sir, for this lovely story. Now, what a wonderful message, children. I mean, on Children's Day, see, we have been guarding. We are supposed to have been guarding the nature for you guys, you know. But then many of us have actually failed. But then I think what Ramendra sir has done is doing the best he can through his stories, reaching out to everyone. children, parents, and adults, telling them the importance of caring for nature, right? I'm sure all of you, because you know, you are going to suffer more than any of us, right? So it is important, if you find adults like us doing things that you think is wrong, that is not helpful for nature, you should stop us, stop all the adults from doing that. And you need to do whatever you can. Gift a plant, plant a tree, adopt as many green practices, care for animals, because this planet is not just for us. Wonderful. Thank you very much, sir. It was lovely having you. And children, you know what you're supposed to do with all these lovely stories. Of course, this story, Ramendra sir did not share from others, as he said, it's his own story. He has written so many stories. I mean, he has to worry about which story of his to tell rather than think about who's others, who else, whose story he will tell, right? But you can share these stories, whether it is Trupti's, whether it is Ramendra sir's, whether it is Saswati who's going to come. You can retell the stories, all the stories that have come before in Storytime at 9. Tell it to your friends, tell it to others, people in the family. You will develop as a storyteller through that. That is why we have the Tiny Tellers, Mighty Tales, right? Please share. You can share these videos with people, and do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you've not done, or like the Facebook page. That's how you'll get all the notifications. Thank you very much, sir. Before we move to Saswati, all of you know that we had a lottery where we found that we are going to showcase a story by a child from one of the partnering schools. And the school that won the lottery is St. Xavier's Kedar Gori. So let us see which of the videos of the students of St. Xavier's Kedar Gori we are going to show today. The two names that we have are from St. Xavier's Kedar Gori are the videos that were selected by the school and were sent to us. Manyata Rath and Sanvi Panda. Manyata and Sanvi, I don't know if you're there listening to the show. If you are, please write down in the comments box. But Computer G, tell us, which video are we going to see today? So, Sanvi Panda, it is. Congratulations, Sanvi. So, we will move to the storytelling by Saswati Nanda Satpathy now. And after the storytelling by Saswati, we will listen to Sanvi Panda. But let me introduce Saswati. Now, for those of you who have listened to a lot of our storytelling sessions, you would be probably as familiar with Saswati as you are with me, because she was doing what I have been doing with Storytime at 9. She was doing it on a regular basis for Ravibar Gopabar. And because she has been caught up on vacancy, I have not had the courage to resume Ravibar Gopabar. Now, don't tell me that I'm making you feel guilty. But, that is how important she has been to the storytelling series of Bakul. You would have heard her in Ravibar Gopabar, of course, telling stories, hosting it like I have been. You would have heard her in a special episode of Storytime at 9 as well. And today, you're going to hear her once again in the Children's Day special. Now, just a little about her. She is an early literacy specialist, and she's a synthetic phonics trainer, a teacher trainer as well, and a storyteller by passion. The teacher training is what she does as a profession. The storytelling is what she does as passion. And her mission is to, achieve her goal of raising early readers. All of us, Ramendra sir also told you about, developing a reading habit. All that we're doing, all these storytelling sessions are just to make you fall in love with stories. Okay, because the storytelling sessions happen once a week, but you can read and listen to stories throughout the week, right? So right now, let us listen to Saswati, and after that, we will listen to Sanvi Panda from St. Xavier's Kedar Gori. Saswati, welcome back to Storytime, and over to you.
Namaskar, good evening. Thank you so much, Sujit sir and Buckle Foundation for giving me yet another opportunity to share a story that's very close to my heart. Well, I heard this story very long ago from a wonderful teller, Laura Packer. And this story was bubbling within me, and I wanted to share it with somebody. And what more, today is the best day ever because tomorrow is a very special day. And wishing you all a happy Children's Day in advance, and to all of us as well, because we are children too. And the story goes, I don't know which way it's going to go, but this man was walking through a dark, dense forest. It was quiet as well. And he could hear a snake hissing in pain. So he looked here and he looked there, and what he saw was a big snake under a huge rock. It was trapped, it was bleeding. And on seeing this man, the snake said, "Hey, release me, snake. Oh man, I'm in pain. Oh, please, please, I'm hungry. I'm starving." The man got closer and he saw the snake was bleeding. He couldn't stop himself, but he was scared. And he said to the snake, if I release you, won't you eat me? Of course not. I promise I won't. And the man couldn't hold himself. He rushed and he pushed the snake, the stone, and the snake slithered out under the stone and raised his hood and said, "Man, I am hungry and I must eat you." The man said, but how can you break your promise? How can you betray me? How can you be ungrateful? You just promised that you are not going to eat me. The snake said, "What is to be is to be, and I am going to gobble you." The man said, No, you can't. We need to hear. We need to hear from three beings, and only then shall I be convinced. So the snake and the man sat and waited for the first being. Soon a hound, a haggard hound, went passing by. When the man pleaded, the hound and asked him to say, Stop, listen, hear me out, hear my story. I just helped the snake, and the snake has broken his promise and wants to eat me." The hound, without a moment of hesitation, said, "Humans are ungrateful. Any good you do to them yields only evil." The man said, Why? Why do you say so, hound? Why do you say so? "I worked for my master from morning to night. I guarded his farm. I hunted for hares. I even fought with robbers. But my master, the moment I got old, when I was slow, when I couldn't guard his home anymore, thought of shooting me down. He didn't feed me well, And look at me. You can count my bones. And humans can't be trusted. Snake, eat this man." The snake was delighted, and the man felt quite the opposite. But he waited. He hoped that maybe the second passerby would take his side. And soon he could hear the clip-clopping of a horse. Hopeful, he looked at the horse. And when the horse came closer, the man said, Stop. Please hear me out." The horse said, "Yes." The man said, I rescued the snake. I trusted him. And now he wants to eat me. Please save me. Vote for me. The horse said, look at me. I was once strong and handsome. In fact, the most handsome horse in the town. I won numerous prizes for my master. I was his pride. But when I got old, when I couldn't run anymore, all he wanted was money. And he sold me to a shoemaker to scrape out my skin and to get the gum. Since then, I have been running for dear life. Humans only break promises. Eat this human. And now, this man said, horse, I'll take you home. I have huge fields. You can graze there. You don't need to work. And hound, come along. You can play with my children. And I'll pet you all day long. I'll take care of you. I'll feed you. The hound laughed in disbelief. And the horse said, I don't trust humans anymore. And now, the human and the snake and the horse and the hound waited for the third being. A wolf. A wolf was passing by, and believe me, you didn't have to call him. He saw, oh, what is it, a meeting? He wanted something juicy. He wanted to spice up his life, so he came closer and said, can I help you? The snake said, of course, hear me out. This man released me from a stone, and now I'm starving and I want to eat him. The wolf thought for a moment, and he thought, and he said, I just can't understand. A snake under a stone. Can we go there, please? Can you tell me where exactly this happened? What happened? Can we go there? Of course. And now the snake was sure that he would get the third vote and could gobble up the human. So the horse and the hound and the snake and the wolf and the man, all of them walked to that spot there. The wolf said, snake, can you go under the stone? Of course. Man, push the stone, said the snake. The man immediately went and pushed the stone, and the snake slithered under the stone, and the man placed the stone again. Being right under that heavy stone, the snake hissed in pain and said, release me! It's aching! It's cracking! And the wolf looked at the man, and you won't believe what the man was doing. He was so tempted to push the stone and release the snake again when the wolf said, stop! You better know, man, what you're doing. Helping is good, but you must know whom you're helping. And the man restricted himself, and the wolf looked at the snake and said, that's exactly where you should be, right under the stone. And the wolf disappeared. The man took the leash of the hound in one hand and the reins of the horse in the other, and they walked and they walked and they walked until they reached the man's farm. And since that day on, the man has been taking care of the horse. He isn't making him work. And the hound is well fed. He's cozy in the man's warm house, and he's well fed. And the man's children are playing with the hound as well. Days into months and months into years, they're all growing. And one wintry evening, when the man is petting the hound by the fireplace and sipping coffee, he gets to hear he gets to hear scratches on his door. Rushes to see and he peeps from the window and he sees it snowing out and he spots the wolf. How can he forget the wolf? It's the same wolf who had helped him. He opens the door and the wolf pleads, saying, "Man, I need your help. My cubs are trapped in a ditch. Come and help me, please." Right when the man wants to step out of the house with one leg out and the other in, his wife calls out from the kitchen saying, "Have you forgotten what the wolf had told you? Remember. Do you remember? You must know whom you're helping." Without a second thought, the man shuts the door and runs behind the wolf. And the wolf keeps turning behind to see if the man is still following him. Soon they reach the ditch and it's almost covered with snow, and the man and the wolf, both of them dig. The man reaches down, picks up the cubs, and gives them to the wolf. The wolf, in gratitude, bows his head down. And the man says, "Human beings shall always remain humane." So this story is what I wanted to share with you. Thank you so much. I hope you like the story.
Thank you so much, Saswati. It was lovely having you as always, right? And children, I hope you have been enjoying the stories. But before I say anything to Saswati, I'm sure she'll be around for some interaction with you guys. But let us first listen to our young storyteller, Sanvi Panda from St. Xavier's High School, Kedargori. Now, just to explain again, these are schools which have partnered with Bakul, and they have selected, we asked them to select 2 or 3 of the best storytelling videos, which were retellings of stories told all earlier in Storytime at 9. And today we did a lottery with the 2 schools which have not yet participated in Tiny Tellers Mighty Tales. Many other schools have already participated. We hope that the schools that have not yet partnered will partner soon, and we can feature children from those schools as well. And so Sanvi's video will play today. And Saswati, I would request you to give your feedback to Sanvi. She would love to have that. But the other video from the same school, from St. Xavier's Kedargori, of Manyata Rath, both Manyatas and Sanvi's will be uploaded on YouTube and Facebook tomorrow. And St. Xavier's Patia, your videos will be played as well on another Saturday. So right now, Sanvi Panda.
Hi, my name is Sanvi Panda. I study in St. Xavier High School, Kedargori, in class 3. The title of my story is The Secret Weapon. One day, it was the before day of the New Year in Hawaii. The children were talking about the characters of the Halloween. Then a little boy came. The children asked the little boy, "Dad, are you afraid of anything?" He said, "No, I am not afraid of anything." Then he saw a small shadow beside the bush. Then the small shadow turned into shoes, and then big legs with shoulder and a big face. Then the tall man asked the little boy, "Dad, are you afraid of anything, little boy?" He said, "No, I am not afraid of anything. Sometimes, but yeah." Then he said, "Follow me." Then follow me. Then they reached to an idol. The tall man opened the gate with his hands, and then they reached to a room with the stairs. The room was full of bats. The bats flew over the little boy's head. The little boy screamed, "Ah!" Then the tall man asked, "Are you afraid, little boy?" Then he said, "Yes, I'm afraid." Then he used his secret weapon. He tightened his fist, concentrated, and the sound came. Then he came out of the room and reached to his friends. Then the friends laughed at him that he was afraid of the town and he was afraid. Then the little boy said, "Yes, I'm afraid, but I have used my secret weapon." He again tightened his fists, concentrate, and again the sound has come. He shared his secret weapon with all his friends. Thank you.
Now that was lovely, Sanvi. Saswati, I think Sanvi would love to have the feedback from an expert storyteller like you.
Oh, no, 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 no. Sanvi, it was such a sweet, nice story. And I must say that a good storyteller is someone who engages with you, who loves the story. And I loved hearing from you, especially and then so all the sounds that you made. I think Sujit sir, what feedback would I give her? She is a 10 on 10.
Wow. Wow, Sanvi. Wonderful. Now, of course, your video will be separately uploaded on YouTube and Facebook, and so also Manyata's. Before we end, anyone wants to ask Saswati anything about reading, about storytelling? Does anyone want to ask any questions before we end the show? Let's see if there are any questions here. I hope you enjoyed this special episode with three wonderful storytellers, three very different storytellers, and with wonderful stories that they had to share with you. And you know what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to share the videos. So Ayushman, by the way, is asking, yes, but before I go to Ayushman's question, Rashi, thank you for reminding me that today is Happy Kindness Day, right? So wonderful. So be kind to people. And one way of being kind to people is by telling them stories. We all love to listen to stories. We love people who tell us stories, right? So, yes, Happy Kindness Day to all of you, and Happy Children's Day in advance once again. Now, the question, Ayushman's question for you, Saswati, is what's your favorite story? Yes, what's your favorite story?
Ayushman, thank you so much for this story. Question. In fact, I want to tell you that, this concept of a favorite story keeps changing each time you read a story. So as you keep reading, the favorite keeps changing. And there are so many stories that I like, that touches my heart, that I want to share. Like, this was one of my favorite stories that was long had been there, and I wanted to share this with you. As about gratitude. And there's another story that I like, that it's a story about the rainbow crow. You can type in, you can look for that story, and I'm sure it's there at Buckle Foundation. And also, so when our library opens, you can pop in and pick up. And if you tell me favorite story, there's another one that I like. It's about a prince, and this prince is I'm going to tell the story next time. So I'm holding this back. Yes.
Okay. Satya Priya is asking about how to develop a storytelling habit in his daughter.
Okay. Satyapriya sir, we start speaking only after we listen. My first tip would be, start narrating a lot of stories to your daughter. So, and it starts bedtime, one story. You can read along with your daughter. And the more she listens, she's going to transfer more as she speaks. So basically, storytelling is all about day-to-day activities put together. So this would be a great way. You start narrating stories, you read to her. You can go on to our Buckle page, and there are a lot of stories there, and you can listen with her.
Okay. Now, in fact, this seems to be a popular question. Sunil is asking it, and Raghubir is also asking in almost the same words. Who is your inspiration?
Okay. So if you tell me personally, inspiration, are people, a lot of people around me. So if I'm not flattering Sujit sir, I can always say that he has been an inspiration for me. He has, yes, he has, he has pushed me a lot also into storytelling, especially when it was Robbie Bar, Goppo Bar. I was not confident whether I'll be able to do it in Oriya. I'm still not confident, but it is me to a great extent. My parents who keep telling me that you can do, it's okay to falter, you can fall, but you have to get up. My in-laws, and if you tell me professionally, there's so many tellers, and someone whom I really look up to is Madam Jiva Raghunath, who is a great teller, whom I really, I really look up to. Ma'am,
Wonderful.
how many storybooks do you have? Please tell this answer. Hey, I've got, I don't have a count of it. I have many storybooks, and I keep reading, and I read, 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 and I read a lot. So I haven't counted, but I promise next time for sure I'll tell you how many, and I'll start counting from today.
Okay.
How to learn many stories? Oh, so there's so many questions.
Yeah. Please say some lines to write a good story.
Yes.
Om Prakash.
For sure. The first tip that well, I am not someone who can write, huh? So, but I'll surely like to share tips on this. So, whenever you want to write, you have to feel, and you have to use your 5 senses. So, you have to feel, see, what you can hear, what you could smell, and all of this which goes into a story. And your characters need to be believable. It's not only how the king looked, but his, his traits, his inner traits, and then a juicy plot. And finally, you have to solve the plot, but it shouldn't be easy. You have to go. There have to be twists and turns, and then you solve it.
Okay.
Okay,
so,
which story? Sujit sir, I'm so sorry.
No. Yeah.
Which
historical story you like?
Baji Raut is my favorite. A 13-year-old young Oriya, the youngest freedom fighter of India, touches my heart. And whenever I read his story in Oriya, and when I read a short poetry on him, I still have goosebumps. My daughter is going to turn 13 when I think how the bullets must have hit his head and how he must have lay there, but he didn't allow the British to go onto the banks. Is my favorite.
The youngest martyr indeed.
Yes.
Right. Okay, Prabhat is asking how many stories you've made and why you want to be a storyteller. Of course, you've talked about your inspiration, but yes, I think what he probably means is how many stories you've told. Because when you tell, of course, you're making them, remaking them, and why you wanted to be a storyteller.
So, Prabhat, I really don't have a count of the number of stories I make because, we make stories every minute. Why only I? Don't you? When you're late for school, when you're late to wake up, when you haven't done your online assessment, and we always make up stories. But listen, these stories, stories are there around us. So we make, and if you're asking me how many stories have I told, I really don't know. But I can count them on my fingers, not many. So why do you want to be a storyteller? I want to be a storyteller because I want to share stories. I want you to ask me questions. I want to inspire you to read. I want you to share your stories. So the world is full of stories, and stories connects people from heart to heart. So I want to connect with you, and that's the reason.
Okay. I think you talked a little about it, but maybe you could, if you want to add something to Vanshika, how she can develop her storytelling.
So if you want to develop your storytelling skills, reading. Because only if you read can you narrate. So, Vanchika, start reading short stories, engaging stories, and make them your own. Start with a good start or once upon a time. Be yourself, enjoy your story, be one with the audience, and let your inner voice speak.
Okay. Now we will not have time to take all questions, but there seems to be a popular question of your favorite food. Ayushman is asking it. Raghubir is also asking it. So, favorite food in Odisha. Okay. Favorite Odia food.
Favorite Odia food. Favorite Odia food. Okay, so Habisa dalma that we have in this Kartika Masa with a dollop of ghee and oruva onna and alu bhatta and one pampada and baigana bhaja, goal ghee, tossed baigana bhaja and sago. But on
For those of
Mondays,
you who are not from Odisha and who could not get the cultural connect, you have to come here and eat this. I'm already seeing comments that guys are hungry. Okay, so I think it's dinner time. We will end now. I hope all of you had a great time. Thank you so much, Saswati, for being with us. And children will be back next Saturday. But next Saturday, we'll be traveling again away from India to another country, right? So till then, goodbye and happy Children's Day. And you know what? Tomorrow, we are actually going to inaugurate 2 new Bakul libraries. But I will not tell you right now. Next Saturday, you will know where it has opened and how. So till then, goodbye and see you next Saturday back at 9 p.m.